Hello, everyone. My name is Batya Yishka Vabat Avraham, and today is March the 29th, 2021. It is also considered the 16th of Nisan, 5781. To give you a little bit of information about my background, I was not born in the Jewish faith. I was born Baptist, but I've never really felt like that was where I was supposed to be, that I felt more closer to the Jewish faith. So a couple of years ago, I got into the Jewish faith. I started attending a synagogue, a Messianic synagogue, and God has changed my name, even though it's not changed legally on anything, but He gave me a new name, and so that name became Batya Yishka Vabat Avraham. Bat means daughter, Yah means God, Yishka means sees prophetically, and Va means and Avraham means Abraham. And God has, over the past 20 some odd years, God has shown me some things and has been teaching me to be prophetic. I'm not an actual prophet yet, but I can prophesy some things in the future. And I'm hoping that as the years go on, that maybe one day I will be able to be a prophet and be able to just speak at someone and say, this is what's going to happen to you. But right now I'm not at that point. So what my name actually means is that I'm a daughter of God, and that I see prophetically. And when you become if the Jewish faith, that means you're a child of God, of Abraham. So it means daughter of God who sees prophetically, and daughter of Abraham. I was doing a podcast where I was going into deep study of each chapter of the Bible, and after a couple of videos or podcasts, God had me watching this one video with it was a couple of weeks ago. It's on the Elijah Streams, and it was Robin D. Bullock, and he was giving some information, and some of the information he was giving, he was saying, well, is find it here, there, wherever, and some things he wasn't. And so at the end of the broadcast, I asked God, I said, where did he find this information? And God said, pick up your Bible and read it from Genesis 1:1 to the very last verse of Revelation. Like, wow, that's a big undertaking. So I started doing that. And then after I got through Genesis and Exodus, God told me that He wanted me to put broadcasts out on YouTube where I am reading it, the Genesis through Revelation. And He also wants me to take notes as I'm reading, and I suggest doing that as well. I'm not supposed to try to answer my questions, but just take notes and write down any questions that I have. So the book that I have is called the Complete Jewish Study Bible. That's the one that's used in my synagogue. It has a lot of interesting information in it. And it also gives you the different names of God. Each name of God it has a special meaning to it. When you're raised up like in Baptist or Methodist or your Church of God, and there's nothing wrong with those religions and denominations, but when you're raised up in that, you're not really don't really learn as much as you do when you get into the Jewish part. So, and if you want to stay in that faith, that's fine. But I also suggest that you try to learn the Hebrew, and because there are more names of God than what we're taught, and these Hebrew names have a deep meaning to them, whereas just like Lord or God or Jesus, they don't really have a real meaning. But the words that we have, Hebrew words, are Elohim, El Elyon, Adonai, Yud-Heh-Vav-Heh, which we do see in the King James Version as YHVH, El Shaddai, Zveot, Yeshua, El Gabor, El Roi, Eloheinu, and Eloi. Elohim means God. Elyon means Most High, or God Most High. Adonai means my Lord. El just means God. The Yud-Heh Vav-Heh means salvation. El Shaddai means God Almighty. And God Zevaot means armies or hosts. So El Zevaot would mean God of armies or God of hosts. And Yeshua means Yud-Heh Vav-Heh saves. The masculine form of Yeshua, which is Y-E-S-H-U-A-H, means salvation. El Gabor means mighty God. El Roi, which I really like this one, you, God, see me. Eloheinu means our God, and Eloi means my God. And I will show you a picture of all this so you can write it down. And I know this isn't very professional, but I am really nervous. This is my first time doing this like this, and I do apologize, but I am very nervous. But I will get better as time goes on. So the places where I have learned Hebrew, and that's where I spent this past year, whenever we were in lockdown, I was learning Hebrew. So you go onto Google or any search engine and put in Hebrew alphabet, and then click up at the very top where it says all news, images, whatever. Click on images, and you'll see a list of different Hebrew alphabet charts. I also have a Hebrew Bible app on my tablet, and that one gives the Hebrew alphabet or Hebrew letters. But then right below it is the King James Version as well. There is also a site called Do It in Hebrew, and that has a keyboard up, and you can click on the Hebrew letters, and then it will tell you, and you click translate, and it'll tell you what that word means. And it also, you can listen to hear how to pronounce the words as well. John Kostick on YouTube, oh, he is awesome. He starts off each of his videos saying, "Hi, this is your Dutch Uncle John," and he goes through each letter of the alphabet, and he reinforces. So even though he might be talking about the letter Aleph, then at some point, and then a word that he's talking about, he might come across, start talking about another letter that's in that same word, and he reinforces the letters as he's through each of the other alphabets that he goes through. Chabad.org has a site for kids, and it's little short, 1 or 2 minute videos. It's a little cartoon, and it goes through the letters as well. Hebrew Pod 101 is a great place to go to as well, and these are all free. And they will also show you how to write the letters, like they would be teaching a child how to write the letters in Israel. Bayit HaMashiach Color Scriptures. That's BAYITHAMASHIACH. So on that site, it has the Paleo Hebrew, which is the original Hebrew. It has the Hebrew. Then it also has the Hebrew written in the English letters. It has the Greek letters as well as the Greek words written in English letters. And it also has it written out in just regular English. And then that way you can, and it's color coded, so you can see, what word in these letters correspond to the actual English word. And today I am sitting at Panera. It's one of my favorite places, and in the beautiful mountains of North Carolina. And so I suggest that if you have a Panera near you, please go visit them. Food is just awesome, and it's reasonable as well. Now these videos are pre-recorded, so I'll be doing a lot of videos in the same day, because life is just crazy with me right now to where I cannot go live every day, and I cannot record every day. So I'm doing as many of them as I can, so I can put put out one each day. And hopefully this fall I will be able to go live. That's what I'm hoping for. So we're going to start off in the book of Genesis. In Hebrew it's called Bereshit, and you'll be seeing some of my notes here. I do apologize if you can't read anything on here, because when I was writing down for me. I didn't know I'd be sharing anything. So, and Bereshit is spelled Beit, Resh, Aleph, Shin, Yod, and Tav. And so when you write it out, it would be B-R-A-Y. I'm sorry. B-R-A-S-H-Y-T-H. And it goes, in Hebrew is read from left to right, where we read from right to left. I'm sorry. It's read from right to left, and we read from left to right. So, beginning in chapter 1, verse 1, it says, "In the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. The earth was unformed and void. Darkness was on the face of the deep, and the Spirit of God hovered over the surface of the water. Then God said, 'Let there be light,' and there was light. God saw that the light was good, and God divided the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. So there was evening, and there was morning, one day. God said, 'Let there be a dome in the middle of the water. Let it divide the water from the water.' God made the dome and divided the water under the dome from the water above the dome, and that is how it was. And God called the dome sky. So there was evening, and there was morning, a second day. God said, 'Let the water under the sky be gathered together into one place, and let dry land appear.' And that is how it was. God called the dry land earth, the gathering together of the water he called seas, and God saw that it was good. God said, 'Let the earth put forth grass, seed-producing plants, and fruit trees, each yielding its own kind of seed-bearing fruit on the earth.' And that is how it was. The earth brought forth grass, plants each yielding its own kind of seed, and trees each producing its own kind of seed-bearing fruit. And God saw that it was good. So there was evening, and there was morning, a third day. God said, 'Let there be lights in the dome of the sky to divide the day from the night. Let them be for signs, seasons, days, and years. And let them be for lights in the dome of the sky to give light to the earth.' And that is how it was. God made the two great lights, the larger light to rule the day, and the smaller light to rule the night, and the stars. God put them in the dome of the sky to give light to the earth, to rule over the day and over the night, and to divide the light from the darkness. And God saw that it was good. So there was evening, and there was morning, a fourth day. God said, 'Let the water swarm with swarms of living creatures, and let birds fly above the earth in the open dome of the sky.' God created the great sea creatures and every living thing that creeps, so that the water swarmed with all kinds of them. And there was every kind of winged bird, and God saw that it was good. Then God blessed them, saying, 'Be fruitful and multiply, and fill the water of the seas, and let birds multiply on the earth.' So there was evening, and there was morning, a fifth day. God said, 'Let the earth bring forth each kind of living creature, each kind of livestock, crawling animal, and wild beast.' And that is how it was. God made each kind of wild beast, each kind of livestock, and every kind of animal that crawls along the ground. And God saw that it was good. Then God said, 'Let us make humankind in our image, in the likeness of ourselves, and let them rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, the animals, and over all the earth, and over every crawling creature that crawls on the earth.' So God created humankind in his own image. In the image of God he created him. Male and female he created them. God blessed them. God said to them, 'Be fruitful, multiply, fill the earth and subdue it. Rule over the fish in the sea, the birds in the air, and every living creature that crawls on the earth.' Then God said, "Here, throughout the whole earth I am giving you as food every seed-bearing plant and every tree with seed-bearing fruit, and to every wild animal, bird in the air, and creature crawling on the earth, in which there is a living soul. I am giving as food every kind of green plant." And that is how it was. God saw everything that he had made, and indeed it was very good. So there was evening, and there was morning, a sixth day. Chapter 2. Thus the heavens and the earth were finished, along with everything in them. On the seventh day God was finished with his work which he had made. So he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. God blessed the seventh day and separated it as holy, because on that day God rested from all his work which he had created, so that it itself could produce. Here is the history of the heavens and the earth when they were created. On the day when Adonai, God, made earth and heaven, there was as yet no wild bush on the earth, and no wild plant had as yet sprung up. For Adonai, God, had not caused it to rain on the earth, and there was no one to cultivate the ground. Rather, a mist went up from the earth which watered the entire surface of the ground. Then Adonai, God, formed a person. The Hebrew word is Adam, which we say Adam, from the dust of the ground. The Hebrew word is Adamah. Adam, or Adam, is A-D-A-M, and Adamah is A-D-A-M-A-H. And breathed into his nostrils the breath of life, so that he became a living being. Adonai, God, planted a garden toward the east in Eden, and there he put the person whom he had formed. Out of the ground, Adonai, God, caused to grow every tree pleasing in appearance and good for food, including the tree of life in the middle of the garden and the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. A river went out of Eden to water the garden, and from there it divided into 4 streams. The name of the first is Pishon. It winds throughout the land of Havilah, where there is gold. The gold of that land is good. Aromatic resin and oxstone are also found there. The name of the second river is Gihon. It winds throughout the land of Cush. The name of the third river is Tigris. It is the one that flows toward the east of Ashur. The fourth river is the Euphrates. Adonai, God, took the person and put him in the Garden of Eden to cultivate and care for it. Adonai, God, gave the person this order: "You may freely eat from every tree in the garden except the tree of the knowledge of good and evil. You are not to eat from it, because on the day that you eat from it, it will become certain that you will die." Adonai, God, said, "It isn't good that the person should be alone. I will make for him a companion suitable for helping him." So from the ground Adonai, God, formed every wild animal and every bird that flies in the air, and he brought them to the person to see what he would call them. Whatever the person would call each living creature, that was to be its name. So the person gave names to all the livestock, to the birds in the air, and to every wild animal. But for Adam there was not found a companion suitable for helping him. Then God caused a deep sleep to fall upon the person, and while he was sleeping he took one of his ribs and closed up the place from which he took it with flesh. The rib which Adonai, God, had taken from the person, he made a woman person, and he brought her to the man person. The man person said, "At last! This is bone from my bones and flesh from my flesh. She is to be called woman." Hebrew word is Isha, I-S-H-A-H. Because she was taken out of man, which the Hebrew word for man is Ish, I-S-H. This is why a man is to leave his father and mother and stick with his wife, and they are to be one flesh. They were both naked, the man and his wife, and they were not ashamed. Chapter 3. Now the serpent was more crafty than any wild animal which Adonai, God, has made. He said to the woman, "Did God really say you are not to eat from any tree in the garden?" The woman answered the serpent, "We may eat from the fruit of the trees of the garden, but about the fruit of the tree in the middle of the garden, God said, you are neither to eat from it nor touch it." I've lost my spot. "Or you will die." The serpent said to the woman, "It is not true that you will surely die, because God knows that on the day you eat from it, your eyes will be open, and you will be like God, knowing good and evil." When the woman saw that the tree was good for food, that it had a pleasing appearance, and that the tree was desirable for making one wise, she took some of its fruit and ate. She also gave some to her husband who was with her, and he ate. Then the eyes of both of them were opened, and they realized that they were naked. So they sewed fig leaves together to make themselves loincloths. And here's a little thing that God gave to me whenever I was taking my notes. And Eve is called Hava in here. It says Adam was with Hava when she was deceived. He did not stop her. Instead, he willfully ate after she did. He didn't wait to see what the effect would be. And we should not do something just because everybody else is doing it. The result could be fatal, spiritually, physically, or both. They heard the voice of Adonai God walking in the garden at the time of the evening breeze. So the man and his wife hid themselves from the presence of Adonai God, among the trees in the garden. Adonai God called to the man, "Where are you?" He answered, "I heard your voice in the garden, and I was afraid, because I was naked, so I hid myself." He said, "Who told you that you were naked? Have you eaten from the tree from which I ordered you not to eat?" Now remember, God already knew all this. He was just trying to get Adam to confess. But instead, Adam says, and that's just something that I put in there. That's not what the verse says. Because right after it says, "Have you eaten from the tree from which I ordered you not to eat?" Then the next verse actually says, "The man replied, 'The woman you gave to be with me, she gave me fruit from the tree, and I ate.'" Adonai, God, said to the woman, "What is this you have done?" The woman answered, "The serpent tricked me, so I ate." Adonai, God, said to the serpent, "Because you have done this, you are cursed more than all livestock and wild animals. You will crawl on your belly and eat dust as long as you live. I will put animosity between you and the woman, and between your descendant and her descendant. He will bruise your head, and you will bruise his heel." To the woman he said, "I will greatly increase your pain in childbirth. You will bring forth children in pain. Your desire will be toward your husband, but he will rule over you." To Adam he said, "Because you listened to what your wife said and ate from the tree about which I gave you the order, you are not to eat from it. The ground is cursed on your account. You will work hard to eat from it as long as you live. It will produce thorns and thistles for you, and you will eat field plants. You will eat bread by the sweat of your forehead till you return to the ground, where you are taken out of it. You are dust, and you will return to dust." The man called his wife Hava, or Eve, which is life, because she was the mother of all living. Adonai, God, made garments of skin for Adam and his wife and clothed them. Adonai, God, said, "See, the man has become like one of us, knowing good and evil. Now, to prevent his putting out his hand and taking also from the tree of life, eating and living forever." Therefore Adonai God sent him out of the Garden of Eden to cultivate the ground from which he was taken. So he drove the man out, and he placed at the east of the Garden of Eden the cherubim, which is K''Ruvim, which is the Hebrew word for cherub, and a flaming sword which turned in every direction to guard the way to the tree of life. One of the things that Robin Bullock has said on the Elijah Streams broadcast was that the serpent was actually outside of the garden, and he could enter into the garden and he could go out of the garden, but Satan could not. And so Satan and the serpent got together to decide how to bring Adam down. And that was one of the questions I had about God was how would he know? Is this true? And if he's right, how did he find that information? And so, and I believe that information is in this book, but I've just not found it. So we will see. As we are reading through, because we know that this information is also referenced in other places throughout the Bible. It's like you find out about Noah and the flood throughout the Bible. So we will keep reading, and like I said, I strongly suggest you taking notes and writing down any questions that you have, and then as we keep up with those each day, and as we are reading through, look back to see if those questions have been answered. The man had sexual relations with Hava, his wife. She conceived, gave birth to Cain, which means acquisition, and said, I have acquired a man from Adonai. In addition, she gave birth to his brother Abel. Abel kept sheep while Cain worked the soil. In the course of time, Cain brought an offering to Adonai from the produce of the soil, and Abel too brought from the firstborn of his sheep, including their fat. Adonai accepted Abel and his offering, but did not accept Cain and his offering. Cain was very angry, and his face fell. Adonai said to Cain, Why are you angry? Why so downcast? If you are doing what is good, shouldn't you hold your head high? And if you don't do what is good, sin is crouching at the door. It wants you, but you can rule over it. Cain had words with Abel, his brother. Then one time, when they were in the field, Cain turned on Abel, his brother, and killed him. Adonai said to Cain, Where is Abel, your brother? And he replied, I don't know. Am I my brother's guardian? He said, What have you done? The voice of your brother's blood is crying out to me from the ground. Now you are cursed from the ground, which has opened its mouth to receive your brother's blood at your hands. When you form the ground, it will no longer yield its strength to you. You will be a fugitive, wandering the earth. Cain said to Adonai, My punishment is greater than I can bear. You abandoned me today from the land and from your presence. I will be a fugitive, wandering the earth, and whoever finds me will kill me. Adonai answered him, Therefore, whoever kills Cain will receive vengeance sevenfold. And Adonai put a sign on Cain, so that no one who found him would kill him. So Cain left the presence of Adonai and lived in the land of Nod, wandering east of Eden. Cain had sexual relations with his wife. She conceived and gave birth to Enoch. Cain built a city and named the city after his son Enoch. To Enoch was born Arad. Arad fathered Mahujael. Mahujael fathered Metushael, and Metushael fathered Lamech. Lamech took himself 2 wives. The name of the one was Adah, while the name of the other is Zillah. Adah gave birth to Yavel. He was the ancestor of those who live in tents and have cattle. His brother's name was Yuval, and he was the ancestor of all who play lyre and flute. Zillah gave birth to Tubal-Cain, who forged all kinds of tools from brass and iron. The sister of Tubal-Cain was Naamah. Lamech said to his wives, Adah and Zillah, listen to me. Wives of Lamech, hear what I say. I killed a man for wounding me, a young man who injured me. If Cain will be avenged sevenfold, then Lamech will 77-fold. Adam again had sexual relations with his wife, and she gave birth to a son, whom she named Shet, or Seth, which means granted. For God has granted me another seed in place of Abel, since Cain killed him. To Shet too was born a son, whom he called Enosh. That is when people began to call on the name of Adonai. Here is the genealogy of Adam. On the day that God created man, he made him in the likeness of God. He created them male and female. He blessed them and called them Adam, or humankind, on the day they were created. After Adam lived 130 years, he fathered a son like himself and named him Shet. And here's a little note that God gave me about that verse. That there was 130 years from the time Adam took his first breath until Seth was born. Seth was just like Adam. That's what it said right there. But nothing is said about Cain and Abel being like Adam. It's kind of interesting. I wonder why. Hopefully we'll find out. After Shet was born, Adam lived another 800 years and had both sons and daughters. In all, Adam lived 930 years, and then he died. And here's another thing that God has pointed out to me, that it says that, for God, 1,000 years is like a day, and a day is like 1,000 years. So, since Adam lived 930 years, that was still not even, quite a whole day that he lived. When you think about the 1,000 years being as a day. So he did actually die the same day that he ate the fruit, which he and Eve both, because even though it doesn't say how long she lived, I'm pretty sure she probably did not live past 1,000. In all, Adam lived 130 years and then he died. Shet lived 105 years and fathered Enosh. After Enosh was born, Shet lived another 807 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Shet lived 912 years, then he died. Enosh lived 90 years and fathered Kenan. After Kenan was born, Enosh lived another 815 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Enosh lived 905 years, then he died. Kenan lived 75 years and fathered Mahalalel. After Mahalalel was born, Kenan lived another 840 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Kenan lived 910 years, then he died. Mahalalel lived 65 years and fathered Jared. After Jared was born, Mahalalel lived another 830 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Mahalalel lived 895 years, then he died. Jared lived 162 years and fathered Hanok. After Hanok was born, Jared lived 800 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Jared lived 962 years, then he died. Hanok lived 65 years and fathered Methuselah, or what we know as Methuselah. After Methuselah was born, Hanok walked with God 300 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Hanok lived 365 years. Hanok walked with God, and then he wasn't there because God took him. Methuselah lived 187 years and fathered Lamech. After Lamech was born, Methuselah lived 782 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Methuselah lived 969 years, then he died. Lamech lived 182 years and fathered a son, whom he called Noah, which means restful. For he said, this one will comfort us in our labor, in the hard work we do with our hands, to get what comes from the ground that Adonai cursed. After Noah was born, Lamech lived 595 years and had sons and daughters. In all, Lamech lived 777 years. Then he died. Noah was 500 years old, and Noah fathered Shem, Ham, and Japheth, or Japheth. And God just brought up a little point to me that Lamech, Noah's father, lived 777 years. And 7 is a special God number. And so that there's 3 sevens there. There's something special. And also, another thing he also brought up to me is that in this chapter 5, where it's giving all of these information about who fathered who, that you'll notice nobody lived more than a day. And when you see, we're going by the 1,000 years as a day scenario. It's kind of interesting too. We're not that, so wasn't just Adam and Eve dying the same day. That's dying the same day is the same things that's taught to us as well. And always pay attention to these genealogy lines. I know that they're long and boring, but they're there for a reason. And it teaches you later on about why they wanted certain people out of the Israelites' lines, and why this generation or this nation acted the way that they did, and you learn a lot, and there's also a reason for all these, where it goes into great detail about building things. I'm not exactly sure why such great details are in that, but there is a reason. So, and as we go on and reading and studying, we'll find that out. I've not studied a whole lot, but because I've not been doing it all that long. But these are just little insights that I've picked up in what I have studied so far. And now we'll begin in chapter 6. In time, when men began to multiply on earth, and daughters were born to them, the sons of God saw that the daughters of men were attractive, and they took wives for themselves, whomever they chose. Adonai said, "My spirit will not live in human beings forever, for they too are flesh. Therefore, their lifespan is to be 120 years. The Nephilim were on the earth in those days. And also afterwards, when the sons of God came in to the daughters of men, and they bore children to them, these were the ancient heroes, men of renown. Adonai saw that the people on earth were very wicked, that all the imaginings of their hearts were always evil only. Adonai regretted that he had made humankind on the earth. It grieved his heart. Adonai said, I will wipe out humankind, whom I have created from the whole earth, and not only human beings, but animals, creeping things, and birds in the air, for I regret that I ever made them. But Noah found grace in the sight of Adonai. Here is the history of Noah. In his generation, Noah was a man righteous and wholehearted. Noah walked with God. Noah fathered 3 sons, Shem, Ham, and Japheth. The earth was corrupt before God. The earth was filled with violence. God saw the earth, and yes, it was corrupt, for all living beings had corrupted their ways on the earth. God said to Noah, the end of all living beings has come before me. For because of them, the earth is filled with violence. I will destroy them along with the earth. Make yourself an ark of gopher wood. You are to make the ark with brooms and cover it with pitch both outside and inside. Here is how you are to build it. The length of the ark is to be 450 feet, its width 75 feet, and its height 45 feet. You are to make an opening for daylight in the ark 18 inches below its roof. Put a door in its side and build it with lower, second, and third decks. Then I myself will bring the flood of water over the earth to destroy from under heaven every living thing that breathes. Everything on earth will be destroyed. But I will establish my covenant with you. You will come into the ark, you, your sons, your wife, and your sons' wives with you. From everything living, from each kind of living being, you are to bring 2 into the ark to keep them alive with you. They are to be male and female. Of each kind of bird, each kind of livestock, and each kind of animal creeping on the ground, 2 are to come to you, so that they can be kept alive. Also take from all the kinds of food that are eaten, and collect it for yourself. It is to be food for you and for them. This is what Noah did. He did all that God ordered him to do. Chapter 7. Adonai said to Noah, come into the ark, you and all your household, for I have seen that you alone in this generation are righteous before me. Of every clean animal you are to take 7 couples, and of the animals that are not clean, 1 couple. Also the birds in the air take 7 couples, in order to preserve their species throughout the earth. For in 7 more days I will cause it to rain on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. I will wipe out every living thing that I have made from the face of the earth. Noah did all that Adonai had ordered him to do. This is something that was always kind of confusing to me when I was growing up reading the King James Version, was that it said take by 2, a couple male and female, but then it says by 7s, but it didn't ever say 7 couples. So it was kind of, it didn't make sense to me. 7 is such an odd number. But by going through the Hebrew, I found out that it's actually 7 couples. And I'm not saying to get rid of your whatever version you're reading, but if you're, doing it, learning the Hebrew, then you find out that it's 7 couple. You find out more information. Noah was 600 years old when the water flooded the earth. Noah went into the ark with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives because of the floodwaters. Of clean animals, of animals that are not clean, of birds, and of everything that creeps on the ground, couples, male and female, went into Noah in the ark, as God had ordered Noah. After 7 days, the water flooded the earth. On the 17th day of the 2nd month of the 600th year of Noah's life, all fountains of the great deep were broken up, and the windows of the sky were open. It rained on the earth 40 days and 40 nights. Noah entered the ark with Shem, Ham, and Japheth, the sons of Noah. Noah's wife and the 3 wives of his sons accompanied them. They and every animal of every species, all the livestock of every species, every animal that creeps on the ground of every species, and every bird of every species, all sorts of winged creatures. They went into Noah in the ark, couples from every kind of living thing that breathes. Those that entered went in, male and female, from every kind of living being, as God had ordered him, and Adonai shut him inside. The flood was 40 days on the earth. The water grew higher and flooded the ark, so that it was lifted up off the earth. The water overflowed the earth and grew deeper until the ark floated on the surface of the water. The water overpowered the earth mightily. All the high mountains under the entire sky were covered. The water covered the mountains by more than 22.5 feet. All living beings that moved on the earth perished. Birds, livestock, other animals, insects, and every human being. Everything in whose nostrils was the breath of the Spirit of life. Whatever was on dry land died. He wiped out every living thing on the surface of the ground. Not only human beings, but livestock, creeping animals, and birds in the air. They were wiped out from the earth. Only Noah was left, along with those who were with him in the ark. The water held power over the earth for 150 days. Now, if you will look out at a mountain, and we have some mountains here, and I'll turn my camera around and try to show you one. And of course, we don't have the highest mountains in the world here, but just to kind of give you a visualization, look at the top of that whatever mountain you see, and try to imagine 22.5 feet above that. Whenever I did that, it just gave me, kind of goosebumps, like of how much water was there. So, the one I'm going to show you, there's actually like a building right up in front of it, and that building looks like it's level with the top of the mountain. So just one moment. Sorry, this makes you kind of seasick. So, I hope. I don't have fancy equipment. I'm not a rich person, so I do apologize if I made you sick or didn't kind of like seasick, or you didn't get a very good visualization. I tried. But I hope that you did see it, and if not, just if you don't have mountains near you, look up a picture of a mountain, or try to visualize one in your mind. It's kind of, I don't know. So now we're going to chapter 8. God remembered Noah, every living thing, and all the livestock with him in the ark. So God caused the wind to pass over the earth, and the water began to go down. Also the fountains of the deep and the windows of the sky were stopped. The rain from the sky was restrained, and the water came back from completely covering the earth. It was after 150 days that the water went down. On the 17th day of the 7th month, the ark came to rest on the mountains of Ararat. The water kept going down until the 10th month. On the first day of the 10th month, the tops of the mountains were seen. After 40 days, Noah opened the window of the ark which he had built, and he sent out a raven, which flew back and forth until the water had dried up from the earth. Then he sent out a dove to see if the water had gone from the surface of the ground. But the dove found no place for her feet to rest. So she returned to him in the ark, because the water still found no place for her feet to rest. So she returned to him in the ark, because the water still covered the whole earth. He put out his hand, took her, and brought her into him in the ark. He waited another 7 days, and again sent the dove out from the ark. The dove came back. The dove came into him in the evening, and there in her mouth was a freshly plucked olive leaf. So Noah knew that the water had cleared from the earth. He waited yet another 7 days and sent out the dove, and she didn't return to him any more. But the first day of the first month of the 601st year, the water had dried up from off the earth. So Noah removed the covering of the ark and looked, and yes, the surface of the ground was dry. It was on the 27th day of the 2nd month that the earth was dry. God said to Noah, "Go out from the ark, you, your wife, your sons, and your sons-in-laws with you. Bring out with you every living thing that you have with you, birds, livestock, and every animal that creeps on the earth, so that they can swarm on the earth. Be fruitful and multiply on the earth." So Noah went out with his sons, his wife, and his sons' wives, every animal, every creeping thing, and every bird, whatever moves on the earth, according to their families, went out of the ark. Noah built an altar to Adonai. Then he took from every clean animal and every clean bird, and he offered burnt offerings on the altar. Adonai smelled a sweet aroma, and Adonai said in his heart, "I will never again curse the ground because of humankind, since the imaginings of a person's heart are evil from his youth, nor will I ever again destroy all living things as I have done. So long as the earth exists, sowing time and harvest, cold and heat, summer and winter, and day and night will not cease." So that is all for today. I'm going to try to keep them around an hour. I might go over a little each time, but tomorrow we'll start, or the next video. We'll start in chapter 9. So, and I ask that you just please hit like, subscribe, and hit the notification bell. All that's at the bottom of this video. And when you do that, then that will let you know whenever a new video is uploaded. And I hope you have a wonderful day. God bless you all. Bye.